Hello, everyone. Welcome today from a very rainy Melbourne, in Melbourne, Australia, that is. I'm very excited today to be interviewing Tomas Jajesnica from Mr. Meditate. Welcome, Thomas. Fabulous to see you.
Hi, Susan. Lovely to be here.
Oh, it's an honour. Now, Thomas, we have so much to talk about today, and I would like you to start telling us about how you help people. I'll let you start, and we'll take it from there.
Okay, so in the most recent of times, the feedback that I get from participants, particularly sticking around after the sessions that we facilitate, is that there's so much brain fog. There's exhaustion, sleep deprivation happening out there, and people really aren't coping with this constant onslaught of information coming at us, much more than ever before. And this constant onslaught, people can't cope, so they're turning to multitasking to deal with all that busyness. Oh, I've got to do a bit of this, bit of that, to get it all done. And I think we're all guilty of it. I think even you and I, Susan, we've done some multitasking before. But over time, what that does is first of all, creates a lot more tension. The brain needs to jump a lot. So there's a lot more anxiety, a lot more nerves. There's a lot more mistakes. But also this constant multitasking basically allows us to work only on a superficial level. We're just skimming across things where a bit of email, bit of this, bit of phone call, and bit of, not scanning, but scrolling on the phone, just getting little snippets of information. And it's all impacting our attention span, which over time is just shrinking as a people. Attention spans have been decreasing gradually over time. And it's this digital constant information overload that is a huge part of the problem, not giving the brain a break from all that activity it's really prominent out there, and people aren't coping and enjoying themselves because they're underslept or they're wishing their time away, that kind of thing.
So you have to get to the root causes of this problem. This is like the modern world in which we live now. We're just doing a bit here and a bit there, and our attention's been hijacked basically, and it's got terrible effects for our productivity and our mood. And you were saying about, when I spoke to you earlier, people are burning out, and what are people saying to you about how it's affecting their whole being, their emotional, physical state?
Well, some are collapsing. Some are. I've looked at somebody who on the flyer has got the biggest smile and wonderful promotional material, but then posted a really vulnerable picture on LinkedIn where he just actually showed the reality of what he's going through. People they're conking out. I've come from the legal profession where it's so common for lawyers to take 3 months off because I've just been burnt out.
What is it about the legal profession in particular that is so stressful? Because you hear a lot about mental health issues amongst lawyers.
So stress, pressure, distractions, always being on. The legal profession in particular, because that's across many professions, but in legal profession in particular, they have to look for and be aware of the smallest of details. And missing one little detail can swing the case completely. So they have to be really focused all the time, particularly when dealing with documents and clients. The second one is that they're trained, not pessimists, but cynics. What could go wrong in this situation or any situation? What's the risk involved? So as part of their work training, they have to be cynical, and naturally that kind of rubs off on them. They're two big reasons. And, the volume of work, the long hours, the expectations from many law firms that if you're leaving at 6 o'clock, you're a part-timer. And so,
that's enough very big reason. Are there some law firms where they're more progressive and aware of these things and have healthier work environments?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. And
so that's good.
I've worked with one, which is one of my sort of standout clients over the years, ran a 10-week program. So once a week, the entire team got together, they elected to come together to do this silent still practice. And 6 years on or 7 years on, when I speak with them, they're still doing that. They've recognized the benefit and they just do it by
Wow.
themselves. Yeah. And
So they see, yeah.
the partners gave the staff 15 minutes of work time, and they asked the staff to take 15 minutes of their own time. So they come in 15 minutes early, and then they start 15 minutes late by being able to spend half an hour together in silence and stillness. It just sets up the day. They're prepared for all the distractions. They're so much more balanced amidst all the ups and downs that are coming in the day, because we all have those.
So they see the benefit and they actually walk the walk. And I mean, they do. They put into practice. They see how it helps them, in other words, and they stick to it.
They're having this lived experience of improvement. And then the micro improvements initially can be quite a big improvement because your shoulders are soft, or you've released that tension in your jaw, or you just feel all of a sudden this deeper calm because you're so not used to doing these kind of things. But then over time, you might hit a bit of a plateau, and these little 1% improvements will continue to happen. And whilst it's not obvious as you are practicing necessarily, it becomes completely obvious when you look back. And it's like walking through fog. It's all foggy. Is this really working? Is this really doing anything? But you continue walking, and all of a sudden it clears inside. And that's part of this unraveling and revealing nature of this practice.
In other words, you have to have faith and stick with it, and then you see the benefits over time, these little tweaks.
I think it goes beyond faith. I think you need to have a very strong intention. And so, for instance, if you can't sleep, or if you're a big stress head, okay, to reduce stress or to improve my sleep, that's my intention. And because the motivation will wax and wane. You know, it's like a physical boot camp. You've got somebody there kicking your butt to get you there, do this and bend here and stretch there and so forth. And so often people just fall off that wagon when there isn't that instructor. So it's so important to have that really strong intention. If you can't sleep, you want to do something about it, this will definitely help, but you need to do it. And if you remember why it is that you're doing it, then you'll just do it regardless if you're motivated or not, and you will benefit in the long run without a doubt.
Yeah, so the intention and the why is what drives you, rather than having faith. That's what keeps you going with the discipline.
And you just keep reminding yourself, and then you've got something to measure your success on. So if all of a sudden you've been doing this practice for 3 months or 6 months, and then you check in, why am I doing it? Because I'm a stress head, or was a stress head. How stressed am I these days? How much am I reacting to stuff, especially the stuff that you don't like? And I bet you it'll be less. And it's this gradual, constant and never-ending improvement.
That's fantastic. So how do you do your magic? Is it meditation? I mean, tell me what you go into an organization. What do you do? How do you help the people?
So we ascertain what they're looking for. So we're looking for their intentions, their objectives. You know, why are we speaking? Why is it that we're there? And once we understand what it is that they're looking to achieve, then we often tailor a program or a sequence of activities to tackle that, or to start to address that. And so we essentially start with, most of the time it's with an experiential workshop or a series of workshops to introduce the methods and techniques. And then you get a bit of a sense of the appetite for it from staff. You see how it resonated, if it resonated, and then you map out the next sequence to get started with a bit of a habit creation program. So once a week is very common. Do that for 8 weeks because of the neuroscience backup. After 8 weeks of this kind of training, more than just once a week, you have to do your homework as well, practice on your own, and that's our goal. The brain will change shape and adapt to what is being practiced. So that's why we do it for 8 weeks, because then after a couple of months, you can start to tell, and your brain actually has physically changed shape if, of course, you do the practice. Just like if you go to the gym, keep doing these bicep curls, in a couple of months, those biceps will be a bit bigger. But we're, of course, working on the inside.
So is that what the term neuroplasticity refers to, the new connections in your brain? That's
Yeah,
the
or
term.
the changing shape of your brain. So if you are a stress head, if you practice stress a lot, and I use my words carefully, or if you do anxiety a lot or do depression a lot, then those parts of your brain that are responsible for that, the amygdala, will grow, will get bigger, and you'll get better at this stress, at this anxiety, at this depression.
Yeah.
So that's where the brain starts to adapt. So whatever you practice, consider what it is that you practice. If you practice tension, overwhelm, being frazzled, out of balance a lot, then that brain will grow and you'll get better at it.
Yeah, the amygdala lights up and grows and develops, and that's what you're right. You become a nervous wreck in fact.
Yeah, and the same thing is when you use the prefrontal cortex of your brain, the executive function with all the rationality and decision making, where we spend most of our working lives really rationalizing and getting stuff done. If you overwork that, then the stress will occur because things won't fire as well. Then the amygdala notices that threat, that, oh, there's stress here. It's not a saber-toothed tiger, but it's an exhaustion or overthinking one. And it throws in cortisol to that to kind of freeze up and, okay, there's a threat here. And in that process, it could be just the smallest of doses, like when somebody does a bit of stress. But it basically overlooks the hippocampus part of the brain, which is responsible for the learning and memory. And I'm not sure about you, Susan, but out there, not many people's memories are improving over the last few years. In fact, they're declining. And that's a lot to do with attention, because we're hijacking, we're overlooking that hippocampus part of the brain, so we're not learning as well, and we're certainly not remembering as well because of this stress effect, this cortisol.
So it affects not only our mood and emotions as stress, but what's the output? What's our productivity? What's the quality of our deep thinking, our deep work going to be like when we're like this?
Well, deep thinking. So I think when you mention deep thinking, you're talking about things like flow states.
Yes.
And where you have critical thinking, you really have concerted thought and a lot of energy towards it, and you go deep into something, like an artist, on a canvas. They're in flow. They're not even considering time. They're just creating, making strokes. Or when you're reading a compelling book, you're just in there. You're not thinking about anything else. You're bang in that book. So when you're multitasking, these flow states are not possible. You have to be immersed, monotasking in one thing to trigger these flow states. And that, of course, is where the abundance of creativity that we all have within us exists. And when the mind is agitated or constantly on and busy, it's like that snow globe. You shake that snow globe, those snowflakes are like your thoughts. This thought, that thought, looping thoughts, this. And there's no space for innovation. There's no space for creativity. And
you've crowded it all out, haven't you, by all those thoughts ricocheting around in your mind?
You're just too busy. Then this, then this, then this, then this. And I hear so often that the most common places people talk about where they are creative is on the toilet or in the shower.
Because the mind can just run free. They're daydreaming almost. And you need to daydream to get these insights, these flashes of brilliance.
Spot on. And that daydreaming that you refer to is something that's really important in the form of a brain break. And the latest I've heard is about 5 brain breaks a day, or 5 minutes a day. 5 minutes per brain break. And that's where you put your brain into neutral. You just let it idle. You're not processing. You're not doing anything. You're not checking anything. You're just either staring out at the sky, or you just going for a walk in the park, whatever it is for you, where you just go into idle and neutral. And what that does is allows that prefrontal cortex to settle, like the snow globe, the snowflakes settle. And then the other parts of the brain start to connect, particularly the hippocampus for the learning, for the memory. So your brain needs to connect to all those regions and process that for the learning to occur and the memories to be there.
It's fascinating how when you map it, when you relate it back to what's happening in the brain under the hood, so to speak. So,
and this is a always evolving field, particularly from the scientific perspective. And I'm delighted that the science is slowly starting to catch up And when I hear some compelling doctor talking about the benefits of, meditation or this or that, I'm like, oh, that's so compelling. But I already know this because I sit on my bum and I experience it. And that is the key. So for anyone listening today, this is not another intellectual, rational conversation. If this doesn't inspire you or to help you to get your bum on the seat, then this is just another rational, intellectual stimulation exercise. And you'll go back to your emails or your LinkedIn posts, and you'll continue rolling in that existing habit that you have.
That's true.
So the key is how can this help? Are there techniques required? I can be encouraging, I can motivate, but you need to know your own intention for wanting to do this. And it doesn't necessarily have to be when there's issues or problems. And that's 80% of people or workplaces that have been drawn to us is because, the environment's icy, or we've been working manically, and there's lots of pressure, there's lots of stress, and the atmosphere is not good. But it also works with high-performing teams or where everything is going pretty good, and you just want to take it to the next level. And this is where you kind of enter into the domain of insight. So having spaciousness for those ideas, the innovations, the ways to improve, to allow them to come in. And this cannot necessarily be forced. Maybe there are some techniques that will get it out of you, but over time, you're again shaking a snow globe. Where's that thought? Whereas those light bulb moments happen when there's spaciousness. And as you can hear, I talk pretty quickly. I'm a pretty excitable guy. I have a lot going on here and there, and you only teach what you need to learn yourself. So I definitely need to learn more attention and attitude training, but I've been doing it for a while, and I still need to do it clearly. And I sit with a monk. Even though I'm non-religious, but I sit with a monk, so I know I'm somewhere on the continuum. And nobody has worked it all out there. If you have met anybody who's worked it out, all of life out, Susan, please let me know. I have plenty of questions for them.
No, I think we're all works in progress. We're all improving. Like you said, some people are need you for maybe a workplace culture that's not so great, and other people might need you for those insights. They get what it's about where they are at that point in time to improve, and it's all about improvement. That's my point.
Well, yes, though working in the mental health sphere, this is clearly, in my humble opinion, maybe biased, but humble, the best self-development thing that you can do, because not only does it help to develop inner calm where you will make better decisions compared to being frazzled. It'll help you to concentrate and focus so you can actually get stuff done. And it'll help with clarity of the mind, helping those snowflakes to settle, for spaciousness to come in. So for vivid thinking. So not only does it do that, and that's plenty, that's heaps, but what it does over and above that is helps to purify and balance your mind. And by purify, I'm talking about these mental defilements, and we all have them, right? Bubbling under the surface, somewhere under there, this, bubble of unsatisfactoriness somewhere deep down, and then something triggers it through stress at work or whatever else. But the second part, the balance part, and I often use the word equanimity, because to be equanimous, to have equilibrium, because we will continue to have this roller coaster. Sometimes, nice and smooth. Other times, it'll be nuts, ups and downs for the rest of our lives. And 60,000 participants have come along to the session so far, and not yet one hand has gone up to, does anyone not have ups and downs? And when you're equanimous, regardless of what's going on out there, what pressures you face and so forth, you've developed this balance, this inner stability that you'll be able to tackle that a lot better and accomplish the tasks ahead in a much better fashion. And the key to the yardstick of your progress with this practice is your equanimity. So I've met many meditators. Oh, I'm so mindful, and so this, and look how good I can sit and meditate. Wow, what a beautiful statue. Let's take an Insta photo. But then they, photo's done. and they go into their normal day-to-day life, and then they're stressing out and they're agitated and this and that. So it's not making any impact on their day-to-day. So that's really not that, it's a nice to have, but it's not really doing much. If it's not permeating your day-to-day life, then what's the point? Might as well watch some more Netflix.
That's right. And get interrupted
some more. In case it wasn't enough.
And like, you're not reacting. You're more, you whatever happens to you, you take it more in your stride. You don't go up and down and react and get all worked up. That's what you mean by equanimity?
That's a huge point. Yes. So at any point in time, there is a space between stimulus and reaction, or stimulus and response. And we've all blindly reacted to things. Someone's called you something. What'd you say? And right.
Yeah, just flown off the handle. Yes.
And if you were stressed out at that point in time, or under loads of pressure, you could have exploded. For the smallest of, could have been a joke coming your way, right? Versus responding. You could be full of tension. You could be antsy and so forth. But before you respond to that stimulation or to that comment, you maybe take a breath and you respond in the way you choose to respond. So it's your control versus just flying off the handle.
And you won't regret, and also you won't regret afterwards what you've said in the heat of the moment. I mean, you could lose relationships. You could really burn bridges if you just react too.
I'm sure we've all had an experience of that to some degree. Again, yes. I'm not professing. No,
I know.
I'm a work in progress. I have my challenges too. My equanimity gets tested out there, of course, but I'm working at it, and I exercise. And by the exercise, I mean I sit in silence and stillness to help my mind be happier, healthier, and less distracted.
And what about, you mentioned exercise while we're talking about exercise. What about physical exercise? That's also important too. It's not just the mind, it's also...
without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. And the same principles apply, except exercise, you need to do half an hour 3 times a week, according to the experts. Whereas with meditation, 10 minutes 3 times a week to maintain the mental, emotional, and physical benefits. And I'll get onto the exercise in a moment. But with the meditation, when you're tense and stressed, your jaw's clenched, your body's contracting, and there's this tension. And that's when there's dis-ease. It starts to happen more and more, the flus, the colds, the whatevers. And so when you have a calmer disposition, when you're balanced, when you're more jovial and cheerful overall, then that permeates to your body. You're not holding that tension. But I'm very well practiced in this meditation stuff, and I've got a gym next door, and sometimes it's challenging to get there. Like literally takes me 30 seconds, but some days it's like, don't know. But I remember why it is that I'm going, because it'll help me feel better, be a bit stronger in my muscles, help this body, which we have one of this lifetime, to look after.
It's precious.
Absolutely. If it was a vintage car, that was your only car that you had your whole life, you'd be shining it, polishing it, and so forth. Well, this is what you've got all your life. So, yeah, exercise is so paramount. And it just makes you feel more alive, and circulation's better and all that kind of thing. But you can only know that through your own experience of exercising, which is not always sexy, not always easy, but you get the benefits when you do it, especially on a regular basis.
For sure. Now, Thomas, I have a question for you from, and I know this lovely person, On Stage VP Music Podcast. It's how do you handle the stress of the job, Thomas?
Stress of the job. So, first of all, shift from reacting to the pressures to responding to the pressures. And it's so easy to say. It'll be much harder to do. That's why you got to practice that a lot, so the responding becomes a habit. And I've worked with many senior executives, and one in particular at NAB that really comes to mind now. This gentleman and another person of exactly the same role, as in the same level in their organization, same amount of pressure, same amount of busyness, same amount of meetings, etc. And the one that started coming along to the sessions said that the reason why they came along because they were overwhelmed and frantic and frazzled and not sleeping, just all those common things, started practicing it, then realized that regardless of the pressure, he can only do his best. And he's got that stability of okay, there's a million things. I can either worry about it, or I can just start doing whatever I can do in the best way that I can do it. And just as an attitude piece, that shifted things. All of a sudden, his sleep got better, or he's not as worried and concerned about it. But you can only do what's within your control. And it's like trying to get somewhere, drive through traffic to make some appointment on the dot. You almost killed yourself getting there. And sometimes the other person's not even there.
I know, and you've knocked yourself. Oh, I was in Adelaide not so long ago, and we were rushing the cab. We couldn't get a cab. It was rush hour for Adelaide. And then we finally got the cab, only to be delayed for 7 hours. I mean, all that rushing and stress and thinking we're going to miss the plane. And look what happens. You can only do what you can do.
So hurry slowly is a big motto I've been living by for many years, and people kind of respond to it. Oh, because everyone's used to now we've got to do it yesterday. We've got to get it done instantly. And I appreciate that there will be a lot of pressure at work, and there will be a lot of demands and so forth. But keeping your balance amidst it, keeping your calm, your focused, and your clear disposition will help you perform better. Because when you're stressed and multitasking, error rates increase by 40%.
Yeah.
So you'll make more mistakes. Oh, then I've got to repeat that and do this and so forth. And then just look in the mirror when you're like that. You're not looking good. You're not feeling good. You're not acting good, and certainly not thinking good when the mind is all stressed out.
You're a frazzle wreck. Yeah, but that self-talk, I like what you said about just talking to yourself and just doing your best and not putting pressure on yourself.
I mean, there's enough pressure already out there. So your own internal pressure adding to that is just going to multiply it, not make it very pleasant or productive. Oh. And the well-being will suffer.
Big time, yes. Have you got any tips for people that they can practice? Say they're feeling anxious and they want to ground themselves, make themselves feel calmer. Little tweaks and tips they can add to their mental health toolkit.
Absolutely. There's many. One that comes to mind, and I think this will also tackle the question about handle the stress. And this is a 1-minute technique. So you can fit it in. You've got 1,440 minutes every day. I'm sure you can find that one, especially if you're frazzled. And it's the 1-minute relaxation response. So it will address that question of stress. But if you are particularly out of balance or stressed or just overwhelmed, here is something that takes an entire minute to do. And it will help you take the edginess off without losing your edge. Right, so it'll help you to let go of tension, worries, concerns, or any stresses in a very short period of time. So enough talk. Let me demonstrate. Now, it essentially relies upon taking 3 deep breaths. So in through the nostrils for a count of 3, hold for 2, and then for a count of 5. And that let me demonstrate here, is something that I think we all do. When we get home after a long day, we jump on the couch and go, It sounds like you've done that before, Susan.
I think everyone has. Yeah.
Right. So that triggers the relaxation response, or for the scientists out there, the parasympathetic nervous system, or the rest and digest. And that response is necessary to fall asleep as well. So you need to trigger the relaxation response in order to fall asleep. So something you can do with your eyes open in a boardroom, wherever you are, or with your eyes closed, which initially, if you can, I'd recommend, just not to be distracted by all the visual stimulus, is take 3 of those deep breaths. But when I say deep, I don't mean from your chest going up and your shoulders go up. When you take a breath in, the belly needs to go out, right? So that's the clear distinction if you breathe in functionally or dysfunctionally. So when I say take a deep breath in for 3, the belly is going out, blowing up like a balloon, like a baby in a cot. So in for 3, hold for 2, just to exaggerate it, and then sighing it out for 5. Shall we do it together, Susan? We've never done this together before.
No, let's do it. Yeah.
Let's make it a little practical thing. So we'll take 3 of these 3, 2, 5 letting go breaths, and that sigh. When you sigh out, let your shoulders drop, let the muscles in your jaw relax, let the muscles in your body relax, and sometimes you can just feel that tension coming off you. So feel free to sigh it out nice and loud. so everyone, all the audience can hear how you sigh. And then after the third breath, I'll guide the next 30 seconds as a little instruction. So let's just demonstrate with your eyes open. So at your own pace, in your own time, let's take 3 of the 3-2-5 relaxation response breaths. All the way out. And once you've taken your third, breathing in and out through your nostrils and simply counting the next 10 breaths. That's 1 on the in and out breath, 2 on the next, all the way through to 10. Let's try that. It gives you a nice break all the way through to 10. Once you've hit 10, returning your attention to whatever it is that you're doing with the edginess off. Reduce the edginess without losing your edge. You haven't gone anywhere. Essentially what you've done is you've sent a signal to your body telling it to calm down and relax, and the body then sends a signal to the mind to calm down and relax. That's it. Triggered by the body.
The mind and body are so intertwined that
they are, yet they're so disconnected as well. The body is always here. You can't get rid of this thing, yet the mind so often ruminating in the past, projecting into the future, the history, the mystery. One has happened, one's yet to happen. They don't exist anymore. One did, one might, one will. The only time is from this moment.
The present. The present really is. Really, the present's like a gift, like the word present. It's where the state we should be in. But
that's the only time we have. Yeah, our body's always here. Our pet, our dogs are always here, right? They're always there. Yet
they're in the moment.
We're so lost in thought, and the breath is such an easy and simple tool as such to keep us grounded there. So to help you stay grounded in the present, just keep about 25% of your open attention, so your mindful attention. So you're not focusing on the breath, you're aware of the breath. Just like you're aware of the light in the room you find yourself in, you're not thinking about it, you're aware of it. You know the temperature in the room, but you're not thinking about it. So we're not thinking about the breath, we're just aware of the fact that we're breathing. And however you can feel the fact that you're breathing, whether it's your belly moving, the air going in and out, if you just, as things are coming or as things are, as you're doing things, just being aware of the fact that you are breathing helps you to actually be here where your body is.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do it. I need to remind myself more often too. I get lost in thought, of course, but I catch myself a lot quicker than most people because I've been training this skill of dealing with distractions for many years.
That awareness you've built up, yes.
Well, without the awareness, you'll just perpetuate the old habits. Now, with the awareness, like when you're trying to fall asleep and you've been thinking all day, from the moment you've woken up, you've turned off your alarm, you've opened your emails, this vortex of information coming your way, then the coffee, the kids, the whatever, getting to work and whatever it is. And the momentum of thinking all day long, about, especially when you lay down to sleep at night, the mind just keeps going and going and going. And what most people try to do is say, shut up, mind. I want to sleep now, or I want to meditate now. Shut up, stop thinking, trying to switch this thing off. And if anyone knows how to do that, please get in touch and let me know how to do that. And then they look for remedies. A quick vino or two or a few scotches before bed. And yes, it works. It helps you to fall asleep, but it doesn't help you to have deep sleep. And that's so critical for your brain to process all the stuff that you've been doing in order to learn and remember. And again, we're all guilty of this, I'm sure, or most of us. So it's about creating a relationship with your thoughts, and expecting that at times there will be storms. You'll be frazzled, and right. So regardless of what's coming in and out, your disposition is your choice. If you're balanced, you go, oh yeah, there is a storm right now, but that'll pass. Rather than shoo storm, get away, shut up mind. And when you're trying to fall asleep, if you're shooing thoughts away, they're just going to get stronger and stronger. And you'll need more drinks, you need more sleeping pills, and it's not heading in the right direction.
What's a good strategy for people before they go to bed, in a couple of hours before they go to bed? Isn't it like you dim the lights so you don't have the blue lights going into your eyes, and just start to get ready for sleep? Don't just go to bed and hope you're going to fall asleep instantly.
Well, my universal answer to that is do what works for you. And if whatever you do works, keep doing that, right? If you can sustain it in the long term, fantastic. Just keep doing whatever works for you, and maybe share it with others, because there's a lot of sleep deprivation out there. I'm not a sleep expert as such, only in my own experience, because I sleep tremendously well, and I have for many moons. And because going to sleep with a more calm, more stable, more balanced mind will help you to have much more deep, restful sleep. And you'll wake up feeling more invigorated, refreshed after the night's sleep, not when you wake up going, oh, I could do another 4 hours. And then the 3 o'clock wake ups happen less and less. And for many, between 3 and 4 a.m., the quietest time of the day, is when they wake up wired, thinking about, oh, that project or this and so forth. And it's not sustainable, because then so wired, oh, but I've got to get back to sleep. I've got a full day of work ahead of me. And you can't get to sleep. And finally, from exhaustion, you get to sleep at 5 or 5:30, and next thing the alarm goes. And that's my idea of hell.
It is. It's that worst, that bleary-eyed, and that's when the brain fog kicks in too. You can't think. And you barely know your name when you're like that.
It's like you're drunk almost the next day, and you haven't touched a sip of alcohol.
Yes.
And then the mood is impacted. You're a bit antsy. Your fuse is shorter, and then it's only Monday. And then somebody like me comes up and says, "Happy Monday," and then before coffee time, what are you even doing talking to me? You know?
And you lose your cool, or something goes wrong and you just lose it. Remember, you were talking before about not reacting, in other words, not responding.
Blind reactions to mindful responses, right? And the wishing the time away. It's Monday. I can't wait till Friday. Can't wait till my holiday. Can't wait till Christmas. And then when Christmas comes, what's the most common saying? What do you think, Susan?
When Christmas comes?
When
it's over so quickly. It's over so
quickly. Where did that year go?
Oh, yes, where did the year go?
Christmas is here already. Where did that year go? And I'll tell you where it went. It went spent ruminating in the past, projecting into the future, driving somewhere and then getting there, not knowing how you got there. Or you walk somewhere and say, oh, I'm here, because you were somewhere else. So there's little micro techniques about keeping your attention on the fact that you're breathing, your open attention, and doing these little relaxation response techniques will help you to fall awake to the life as it happens, as it presents itself to you, moment by moment, more often.
Yes,
and so when Christmas comes, you'll know that Christmas has come, because you would have been awake for it. You would have been present in what you're doing.
And you can enjoy life rather than life happening to you. You're actually part of life rather than living in automatic pilot.
The scientists, I've grappled with this one for a few years, actually. The scientists have said that when you're ruminating in the past or projecting into the future, you cannot be happy. And I've now agreed with them, because happiness can only exist in the present. And you may be reflecting on a happy time that you had, but that happy time happened then, and you were happy in that moment. All you're doing is just reflecting. And in the past is where depression often lives, not being able to let go of things, or there's fear, or future is anxiety, stress, worry, and also fear. And in the present, they cannot exist. In the present is where all the stuff that we all desire as human beings, and I'm open to anyone not having these desires to getting in touch. The love, happiness, the freedom, the truth, the peace of mind. And you can never spend enough money on peace of mind, because it's not the external stuff, it's from the internal.
You're right. It's
Peace of
priceless. The peace of mind is everything. All the money in the world can't buy peace of mind.
Well, a lot of people fork out a lot. You know, those beautiful resorts, I've been to them, where you've got your super comfortable lounges and so forth. And eventually, you know, not many people speak with each other there. But eventually, you know, I've had a few conversations. It's like, oh, one executive, yeah, here for 3 weeks. It took me a week to really settle down. I've had a week's holiday. Now I'm already thinking about work next week. So
their mind's in the future again. Yeah. They can't even enjoy that beautiful present.
And when you're happier, when you're more joyful and cheerful, then your life is enhanced. You not only perform better, but you actually enjoy more moments in your life. And it's not only about those holidays at the end of the year, or I'm going to Greece, or I'm going to the Bahamas, or whatever. What about the time up to that? That all makes up your life. And so every moment counts. It makes up the minutes, the hours, the days, the years, the life. Yes. So they all make an impact. And your brain either enhances or it depletes at every moment in time. And it's the most complex thing we ever know, ever known. If anyone knows something more complex than the human brain, 86 billion neurons, 100 trillion connections going on in every one of our heads.
It's a work of art when you think about it like that. What it does, it's amazing.
Oh, yeah. I think
and
so.
We need to nurture it and care for it, and
we need to give it breaks, brain breaks. Yes. Every day. Let it go in neutral, whether you meditate, whether you just stare out on the train, or whether you just sit and stare at a white wall, as somebody I know does. They've never learned the art or the practice of meditation in a formal way, but they just, 3 kids, running a business. I'm already getting sweaty just hearing, thinking about what kind of life, busyness and craziness. But it takes 20 minutes every day to just stare at a blank wall for 20 minutes without structure. And then the brain just, it comes out calmer. The brain just kind of adjusts and is ready to face the barrage of screams and nappy changes and work.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Now, Thomas, what are some of the questions that people ask you? Is it like they can't meditate, they can't relax, or how do I do it? What are some of the common things people ask you?
Well, a big comment where a lot of people run away from this practice is when their minds start to wander. And then they come to me, and then I tell them, you're halfway there. When your mind wanders and you've realized that it's wandered, that's the mindfulness piece. You're aware that your mind has wandered. And that's what happens in lying in bed trying to fall asleep for a lot of people. You are more aware than most of your day then that your mind is wandering because you want it to shut up. You want it to do something that you don't. So when we practice some simple techniques like focus techniques, like on the breath, breathing in and out, let's just concentrate here, for instance, or on the belly, the mind will wander. The mind will be distracted in thought or some noise. The imagination might pop up, and that can happen every 5 seconds, every 10 seconds, every 20 seconds, or less. And the thing is that when the mind wanders, you've realized, because sometimes it can wander for a while before you actually catch yourself, and that's part of the awareness training. So you're becoming aware where the mind wanders. That's half the victory. Now, the second half is the equanimity, to remain balanced and calm and relaxed that the mind has wandered, and then return it back to the focal point. And every time that you do that, it's like a bicep curl for the muscle of attention. Mind wanders. Okay, for the next 20 minutes, I'm just going to train my mind to focus on what I want it to focus on. So when the mind keeps wandering, like a monkey mind jumping, from like a monkey jumping from branch to branch, it's like a monkey mind in a human from thought to thought. That's when people run away. I can't do this. My mind keeps wandering, and that's fine. It happens to everybody. So when it wanders, this is where the equanimity is required to remain balanced and go, okay, it's gone again. All right, bring it back. Or the monkey mind, oh, come here, monkey. You're very chatty today. Or like training a puppy to stay. Come here, puppy. Be nice. Be cool. The puppy will run away. It'll come back. All right, nice puppy. It'll run away. Come back. So being gentle and kind to yourself and expecting the mind to wander is a huge, huge factor. And often when people run away, and because it's so unraveling and revealing that it will bring up frustration and agitation at some point in time. I know it did for me many times. And that's the purification process, that the frustration, agitation arises, comes up, and you can clear it. But what most people do, it arises and you just suppress it. Get away, get away, get away. And then you never get really purified. You're burdened by that because you haven't really dealt with it. So if you have a fast, chatty, wild mind like I do sometimes, expect it to wander. And when you notice that it's wandered, that's half the victory. You're almost there. The second half is just to remain cool and bring it back to what you want to focus on.
Fabulous. Some great tips. Now, Thomas, before we wind up, I'd like to ask you a special question that I like to ask my guests. If you could go back in time to your 18-year-old young man, what advice would you have for him?
I would start meditating.
I love it. Yeah.
I would ask that young man to say, hey, why haven't my schools or why hasn't my education provided this? I know there's a lot of primary schools out there and that have now got these programs in place. And the reason for that, and the second part is to travel more, to travel between after I finished high school, to get away for that gap year. That's what I would do if I had my time again. And the meditation is, I would have saved myself so much stress. Once I became a driver at 18, I was the one on the right lane on the freeway. If someone was going 99, they would get the lights flashed from me.
Wow.
I was a nut job.
Not now. Now look how calm you are.
Well, a work in progress.
We're work in progress.
And I laugh at myself about how I used to react to those kind of things. Things would drive me nuts on the road. Someone would cut me off, and then I'd get somewhere and I'll be all tense and so forth. And this is at my young self in my 20s. So I would have saved myself so many angst and probably a few wrinkles as well.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. And you would have travelled a lot too before.
I would have travelled more.
Yeah,
I would have just gone because I think the kids or the young adults that I've met who've done that have just had this world of experience. They've got more perspective about how the world works and how other people live.
Yeah, it opens your mind, in other words. Yeah. Now, Thomas, the best way I've got this to contact you. Is that the best way to contact you, through your website?
Sure. Yes. So the site, there's all contact forms and obviously some an outline of what it is that we do. But we're out there essentially teaching mental skills in attention and attitude, and helping to enhance workplace cultures by connecting minds of employees. So firstly, the individuals connecting to their own minds, and then connecting collectively more so. So yes.
Fantastic. Well, that's been a fascinating chat with you today, and I want to thank you for sharing your insights with us and some great tips for us to lead better, happier, healthier, calmer, more grounded lives. So thank you again.
Thank you for the invitation, Susan. And I think the most important part or the most useful part of this webinar or live stream is that 1 minute that we took. And
yes.
That's the experience. So we actually got a benefit, not an intellectual stimulation. We took some edginess off. We became more grounded. That was the most important part of this. And if anyone's watching, as we do it, give it a shot. And if it works for you, then do it multiple times a day. Do it in the lift. Do it at red lights. Do it when someone cuts you off in traffic.
So they don't react like you were saying.
So it's your choice to respond, to be angry, to be stressed, to be happy. That's always your choice. Yet our minds are so fast that we don't realize that we have that choice. at any
We're in
point
the
in time.
driver's seat. We're in the driver's seat of our lives if we just have to remind ourselves.
Oh, that's a good one.
The driving analogy, metaphor, whatever it's called.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you again. And hopefully everyone found some of these tips to put into practice today going forward. So thank you again, Thomas, and look forward to speaking to you later.
Wonderful. Terrific, Susan. Thank you for the initiative.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.